Welcome into the A10 Spotlight. I'm Monica McNutt. This week, a pair of A10 basketball award winners stopped by. Mark Adams gives us his news and notes, and we've got a wonderful story of how a Rhode Island athlete sought to spread that new shoe feeling. With that said, we'll take a look at the weekly award winners, for the week of December 6th. LaSalle junior forward B.J. Johnson, just call him Mr. Efficient, shooting 57% in both games, 8 of 14 from the field, and averaging 22 points and 9 rebounds in 2 victories for the Explorers. He shares the award with Bonnie's junior guard Jalen Adams. His line over the 2 wins for the Bona, 28 points, 4 rebounds, 6.5 assists, and 2.5 steals. Way to go, Adams. And the Rookie of the Week goes to Duquesne guard Mike Lewis, who chipped in 15 points in the Duke's big win over Pittsburgh. We're pumped to welcome into the A10 Spotlight right now one of those co-players of the week, LaSalle's B.J. Johnson. B.J., thank you for joining us.
No problem.
All right, so in your co-player of the week award week, 8 of 14 from the field, not once but twice, 22-point performances. You were clearly in the zone. Describe the zone for me, BJ.
I wouldn't necessarily call it the zone. I would give a lot of credit to my teammates. We were just being extremely unselfish, and I was just in good scoring positions, and my teammates did a good job of passing the ball whenever those times were present.
As we get closer and closer to conference play, you guys have kind of surprised some folks. What has been the motto inside the LaSalle locker room thus far?
I think last year was just real hard for us, and we know we're extremely talented, and we just want to prove a lot of people wrong. A lot of people don't believe that we are good and we can accomplish a run to a tournament or something of that nature, but inside our locker room, we're extremely confident, and we just want to get our names out there.
Now, last year you had to redshirt and weren't on the court with your teammates. What did you learn last year that has been most impactful for you now that you're on the court this season?
I think it's just getting another year of experience under my belt. I played my 2 years at Syracuse, and I came here and sat out. And I think just taking what I learned at Syracuse and then seeing how the program here will run, and just trying to combine the two really helped me out in the health year.
Good stuff for sure. So your dad, Bob Johnson, was a 4-year letter winner at LaSalle. What's it like for you now playing at his same school and dealing with his legacy?
I mean, it is what it is to a certain extent. I guess it's cool to be able to say, your dad went here and you're making him proud and stuff like that. But I think for the most part, me and him, we really don't see it like that. We just see it as, this is more of my time to shine, and he just has my back through whatever journey I go through.
You did give me a slight smile when I asked you about your dad, which seems like it's hard to come by in our interview. Does it give you a little bit of warm and fuzzy and pride in terms of your family, or is it truly strictly business and your time to shine?
A little bit of both, but I think for the most part it's just strictly business, and this is more of my time to shine.
I can absolutely appreciate that, BJ, and so far you've been shining. But for folks who maybe have not seen you play yet, what's the bread and butter of your game?
I think it's just my versatility. Defensively, I can guard anybody from the 1 through the 4, sometimes the 5, and then offensively, smaller guards are a matchup problem because I'm too tall, and I can just shoot over top of them for the most part. And then whenever I'm playing the 4 or the 5 in the offense, I'm a matchup problem for the other bigs, and they have a hard time stopping me off the dribble. So just my versatility.
I can absolutely appreciate that scouting report, and we look forward to you showing off your versatility as the season continues. But before I let you go, we got to talk real bread. BJ, what's the best place to get a cheesesteak in Philly?
D'Alessandro's for sure.
For sure? No questions asked?
No question about it.
All right, well, when we're there, we're going to have to check it out and see if your recommendation is strong. BJ, thanks for joining us. Best of luck the rest of the season.
No problem. Appreciate it.
Time now for the Women's Weekly Award winners. Kara Wright, the senior Patriot, had a stellar week. She averaged 18.5 points, 7 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 2 steals, and 2 victories for the Patriots. And oh, by the way, a game-winning layup. And the Rookie of the Week award goes to Bonnie's freshman, Jalisha Terry, who put up a new career high of 17 points to go with 5 rebounds and 4 assists in a St. Bona win. Since she's moved into the starting lineup, the rookie has been steady, averaging 13 points for her team. Speaking of the Rookie of the Week, we are pumped to welcome into the A10 Spotlight St. Bonaventure's own Jalisha Terry. Jalisha, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
Your performance against Stony Brook was considered a breakout. What was working so well for you that game?
Well, I could say my shot selection and due to Stony Brook, their defenders, well, whoever was defending me, they couldn't really stay in front. So every time I really got the ball, I could just get to the paint, and I took advantage of our ball screens because their team they didn't really execute well. So every time there was a ball screen, I just attacked or got my teammates open and made plays. So that was one thing that kind of worked out for me. So my pull-up jumpers and layups kind of.
Jalisha, you've been starting for 4 games now. How would you describe your confidence level at this point in the season, especially since you're just a freshman?
Well, my confidence level is only high because I believe that my coach has confidence in me. So that's where I get my confidence from. And now that I've been starting and playing kind of well, I just feel more comfortable on the floor with my teammates. And every day I practice, it just builds my confidence up more.
So folks might not know you because we know you are a rookie in the A10. And we heard you say you like to come off of screens and do your thing, but what is your go-to move?
I would definitely say in and out. I like the in and out or in and out crossover or something. That's pretty much, that's just it.
Fantastic. All right, Jalisha, you're off to a great start in your freshman campaign. What's your pregame routine like?
I don't really do much. I just before I go into the locker room, if I'm in my room by myself, I would just sit there in a quiet space and just think and just talk to myself and tell myself I'm gonna have a good game and just get myself ready. Just think about everything and think about whatever we went over with the coaches and the team. That's pretty much it.
When you look back after a game and you observe your personal performance, how do you measure your success?
Well, I always think of my team first. What did we do for me to get this? What did we do for me to do that? So that's how I look at it. And I always look at sometimes how I did as well. What did I do for my team to do that? I just will look back or try to watch film sometimes and see what I did and what I did wrong, what I did right. So that's it.
I like that answer. A very team first, but also how I play a role in this team answer. Well answered, Jalisha. All right, so we got a fun question before we get ready to watch this thing. The mannequin challenge. You've seen it, yes?
Yes.
All right, so not to throw any of your teammates under the bus, this is all love. If the St. Bonnie's women's basketball squad pulled off a mannequin challenge, we can even include coach in this one. Who would be the first to mess it up and why?
I would say me, myself, and my the assistant coach, Coach Andy. I would say she would mess it up.
Why would you mess it up, Jalisha?
I don't know. It's just I'm always doing something. It's just, I don't know. And we tried it. We actually tried the mannequin challenge once in our locker room, and I messed up the very first time. So I automatically just.
What did you do? You started laughing. You can't sit still. I mean, what happened?
Yeah, I was so goofy. So it's I had a pose, and I just couldn't hold it. And I'm I can't do this. So I was just laughing, and I moved as soon as the camera was coming towards me. So I just messed it up.
Well, congratulations on a strong start to your college basketball career. We wish you the best of luck, and we'll keep an eye on you as we continue.
Thank you.
Coming up in the A10 Spotlight, Mark Adams stops by to talk about the A10 teams that he thinks are starting to warm up as the calendar year winds down. And later, I promise you'll love the impetus for this young woman's story and how a simple idea has gone international. Welcome back into the A10 Spotlight. We are pumped to welcome into the program ASN's lead national college basketball analyst, Mark Adams. Mark, how you doing?
Good, Monica. I'm ready to talk some Atlantic 10 basketball.
All right, well, let's do it. And we'll kick the conversation off, Mark. Which teams are hot in the A10, hottest, I should say, and why?
You know, a couple teams have caught my eye. We've talked a lot about VCU and a lot about Rhode Island, but for very good reason. But George Mason is a team that's kind of flying below the radar, that's had a really good November leading into December, and they're really led by Marquise Moore, who's been a double-double guy. I mean, I like the way that kid runs the floor. I like his motor. He goes after the rebounds. And then Otis Livingston as well has also been very effective for Dave Paulson's club. Then you look at the Dayton Flyers. Now with the Dayton Flyers, we know that Josh Cunningham was hurt earlier this season on that last-second dunk against Alabama. How would they recover? They went home, lost to St. Mary's, but now they bounced back. And Kendall Pollard, all of a sudden, is back in the lineup and playing. Went for 12 points and 5 rebounds in his debut. You always got Charles Cook. You always got Scoochie Smith. That's another team that's won a bunch of games in a row, and they seem to be hitting their stride right now. And then when you look at St. Bonaventure with Matt Mobley, who's a three-point shooting threat, almost 50% from behind the arc, and Jalen Adams as well, Coach Schmidt has that team playing extremely well right now. They've got a Saturday matchup of this week against UNC Wilmington. So it's going to be a really exciting week for the A10. But those are three teams, I think. One is recovered in Dayton. George Mason flying below the radar, but has elevated their game. And St. Bonaventure with two really good guards that are making life miserable for people who are trying to guard them.
Jalen Adams of the Bonnies, in fact, a co-player of the week from the week of December 6th. All right, Mark, so we keep it moving. Those are your hottest teams. Who has surprised you in the A10?
Well, I had the great privilege last weekend of calling the city game, Duquesne versus Pitt. Now, let me give you a little bit of background on this game. Duquesne hadn't won for 15 straight years, and they had been blown out virtually every game. The margin of victory for Pitt was over 18 points per game. And Pitt got up early. Duquesne was down by 10 points in the first half, but they came back because Emil Blackman played so well. He's a lead guard that can really shoot, the transfer from Niagara. And all of a sudden, it was a one-point game at halftime, and the momentum swung, and Duquesne just kept on rolling. The unsung hero of this game was Darius Lewis, the big fella. He's a big space eater inside. He only had 2 points, but he had 7 rebounds, a couple block shots. And Duquesne, you should have seen the scene as Duquesne rushed the floor with the big win over Pitt, 64-55. That was one of my great memories of the season. So that's kind of my surprise team this past week in the Atlantic 10.
I'm sure Coach Ferry and his squad were pumped, Mark. But obviously Duquesne got that win, but in terms of the X's and O's, what surprised you about the Dukes?
Their guard play. Mike Lewis and Emil Blackman were stellar in that game. They went into attack mode. They played kind of a half-court set in the first 10 minutes of the half. And all of a sudden, Coach Ferry, who's known for running, all of a sudden, they went into hyperdrive, and these guards were just attacking one way, left way, right way, up the middle, every which way. I mean, they looked like Jerome Bettis going through a line. That's how hard they were attacking the basket. And Pitt just did not have a defensive answer, and Duquesne pulled off the upset. It was one of the most entertaining games I've seen this season, and congratulations to the Dukes on a big win in the city game.
Indeed. They were very efficient offensively as well, 40% as a team in that game. All right, Mark, so we keep this thing rolling. Duquesne, a win over Pitt, a good one for the A10 over the ACC. What are some other good wins that the A10 has gotten thus far this season?
Well, Dayton over Alabama, Davidson over Missouri. You got Rhode Island over Cincinnati. That was a tremendous win for Rhode Island. Davidson over Arizona State. Now, Arizona State's down. Richmond knocked off Boston College. Boston College is down. VCU beat St. John's. VCU also beat LSU, who's not a bad basketball team in the SEC, and Duquesne over Pitt. Those would be the games right now of the big budget programs that the Atlantic 10 has knocked off. There's been 8 of them so far. The Atlantic 10 has twice as many wins against big budget programs as any other conference in the country. The Atlantic 10 has earned their tradition and their reputation as giant killers. Now, but here's the key. In the next month, the A10 has some huge games coming up that will determine their multiple bid status in the NCAA tournament. Remember, they've had the 6th most bids over the last 3 to 5 seasons in the NCAA selection process. In order to maintain those multiple bids at 2, 3, and 4 bids, December is a huge month for the Atlantic 10.
Indeed, Mark. Well, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thanks, Monica. Great to visit with you.
Talk to you soon. Mark isn't done just yet. A little later in the show, I'll get out of the way and give Mark all the FaceTime as he'll give us his memorable moment of the month. And if this story doesn't tug at your heartstrings, then I am at a loss for words. Something has to be wrong with you. This young woman is making cleats count in a big way. Welcome back. Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "Since you get more joy out of giving joy to others, you should put a great deal of thought into the happiness you are able to give." For Rhode Island's Taylor Ross, it didn't take long to think of an impactful idea.
The joy of getting a pair of cleats is something soccer players of all ages share, at least those who are fortunate to own cleats. As a freshman at the University of Rhode Island, Taylor Ross got a new pair of cleats for Christmas.
On Christmas morning, I opened them. They're from my dad, and I'm holding these cleats, and I have this feeling like so excited. And it just hit me that, you know, if I can feel this excited about a brand new pair of cleats, and I'm 18 years old, and it's my 10th pair in my life, like how excited would kids feel across the world when they got their first pair of cleats?
Talk about getting into the spirit of giving.
That night, I was sitting on the couch literally with a notebook writing down ideas. I remember that week, I circled Cleats Count, and I was like, this is it.
The marketing major had her plan. Cleats Count was her nonprofit idea to collect donated cleats for young soccer players in third world countries, many who have never owned or even worn cleats. Priority number one was to get donated cleats.
My direct family all the way to our athletic director here, and then all the way to people across the country who I didn't even know were donating. It was so awesome to see people want to get involved.
Ross even got her fellow Rhode student athletes involved with fundraising with a dodgeball tournament.
The dodgeball tournament was a ton of fun. My team actually lost in the finals to the men's soccer team. We raised a ton of money, and it was a really good community building thing for all of us to get together. And knowing that we're doing it to not only help out one of our own, but people across the world too. There's no better feeling than doing something like that and having a blast while doing it.
Such instant good response. It was so exciting. Teams were like, oh, we can't wait to sign up. Where are the sign-ups? It was just so awesome to see everybody really come together for a good cause at URI.
Through all of her fundraising and with an array of soccer cleats, Ross and her brother Jordan joined the nonprofit organization Ordinary Hero for a trip to Ethiopia in April to make the cleats count for a lot of grateful kids.
The majority of them are wearing just like really torn up shoes, or like sandals, or like kind of like Crocs that are like ripped apart. Some of them are completely barefoot.
The places Ross took her cleats were eye-opening.
We did the first cleat drop off in the middle of a city. It was called Cora. It was a trash dump community. So the people that lived in this community, the only way that they could eat was from a trash dump. It was really hard to see that.
But there was still joy to be found in the beautiful game.
I would go to like a street somewhere, and there would be kids playing, and I would point to my feet and say, you know, can I jump in? And they don't know what I'm saying, but they understand that I want to come play, and they let me play. And these are people that are in really tough times, and they're still so genuinely happy when they're playing the game.
And like Taylor, they were thrilled to get a pair of cleats they could call their own.
Absolutely went crazy when the cleats came out. Of course, for a lot of them, it was their first pair. And the thing with the cleats is not only are you giving them a safer way to play and a better way to play the game, but like I really mean, if you're a soccer player and you get a new pair of cleats, it brings you so much joy. Like you get so excited, and obviously they're going through these hard times.
The trip to Ethiopia provided even more motivation to grow Cleats Count.
The future of Cleats Count, of course, is to continue to deliver cleats all over the world. We want to go to as many places as possible, and eventually build soccer fields and orphanages and other, like just in the city, so kids have a place to play.
These are the plans of someone not even halfway through her junior year of college.
She's just such a selfless person. Anybody who can commit to Division I sports, being a student athlete, and running their own nonprofit organization, there's something to be said about that.
We just put out an apparel line, so it follows the one-for-one model, just like the Tom shoes. So we kind of want to be like the Toms of the soccer world, and every piece of apparel that's sold buys a brand new pair of soccer cleats for us to hand deliver. As long as we continue to grow, we're just going to always remember why we do what we do. It's just to change people's lives around the world, and to do it through the most beautiful game.
Love that story from Taylor. But the feel-good stories out of the A10, they're going to keep coming. Mark stops by to give us his memorable moment on the other side of the break. Welcome back to the A10 Spotlight. Last week, the Duquesne's men's basketball squad made history, knocking off a big-time area foe. Mark Adams relives the moment.
Now, for my favorite memory from last week. John Rhodes is the assistant basketball coach at Duquesne and a cancer survivor. Rhodes was diagnosed with HPV-related oral cancer in 2015. 4 days after the diagnosis, he was hit by a speeding car in Philadelphia. He severely broke his leg and suffered a slightly fractured neck as well. During his cancer treatments, he was guided by fellow cancer survivor and last season's Duquesne star, Derek Coulter. John Rhodes lived the life of Job for the past year, but he always greeted me with a smile, a handshake, and a hug. Today, John has battled back to good health and is an inspiration to us all. John and I got a chance to visit before the game last Friday versus Pitt in the rivalry called the City Game. We talked about the current state of the game, which we both love. He lamented on how so many things have changed and not necessarily for the better. Rhodes is old school, and so am I. He believes in graduating his players, teaching them life skills, and helping them become great fathers and husbands. John Rhodes is a role model for every coach and player to follow. He loves his job, but more importantly, he loves his players and fellow coaches and is in the profession for all the right reasons. After 15 consecutive losses to Pitt, Duquesne's improbable 64-55 upset finally came to fruition over the Pitt Panthers. I watched John Rhodes jump up and down in the middle of the celebration mosh pit at PPG Paints Arena in Pittsburgh. John Rhodes jumped and celebrated with unbridled joy as the City Game trophy was presented and cherished by the entire Duquesne throng of fans, coaches, and players. It's a wonderful life, and I have the greatest job in the world because I get to hang around with role models, special people like assistant coach John Rhodes of the Duquesne Dukes.
Thank you, Mark, for that moment. Certainly a great story. And with that, that's going to do it for this edition of the A10 Spotlight. I'm Monica McNutt. I'll see you back here next week.